real actors on fire for this movie, not CGI and not stunt doubles hiding behind digital tricks. 20 people, real flames in a single room. And almost nobody noticed because they were too busy calling it a mashup. I've spent 30 years on film sets and I want to show you what they're missing. I'm Matthew Lawrence. Welcome to The Rough Cut. Okay, a quick premise here. An ex-con goes into a Manhattan high-rise to find her missing sister. The building is a satanic cult. Every floor maps to a circle of hell. Contained location, clear protagonist, ticking clock. Nothing revolutionary, but it works. Now, here's what's interesting. The building is called the Virgil. In Dante's Inferno, Virgil is the guide who leads you through the 9 circles of hell. The Virgil has 9 floors. Production designer Jeremy Reed gave each one its own texture, its own palette, its own visual language. You feel yourself descending without anyone having to tell you that's what's happening. That's architecture doing the work the script doesn't always do. And the seed of it? This didn't come from a pitch meeting. Sokolov lived in a strange building in Russia with elderly neighbors. One day he moved a kitchen cabinet and found a hole in the wall leading to the next apartment. He and his wife started joking that they lived in a cult. Well, they forgot about it. Years later, he rewatched Rosemary's Baby and realized that's exactly where he'd been. So you have a filmmaker with a genuine lived connection to apartment paranoia, a real building, a real hole in the wall, a real moment of, what if my neighbors are in a cult? Well, that's personal, and that's the kind of seed that grows something original. And then you watch the movie, and somewhere between the real fire, the real building, the real stunts, well, something doesn't connect. The craft is there, the conviction is there on set, but the film doesn't land the way it should. And the question I keep asking myself is, why? Why does a filmmaker do the brave thing on set and then pull back in the story? Why does the real stuff feel real and the written stuff feel safe? That's what I want to figure out. Let's start with the bravest thing in the movie. Good practical effects. Now that is what I'm talking about. Real fire, real actors, 20 of them burning at the same time in a room. The flaming axe sequence. Asia swinging a lit weapon through a hallway of cultists. Now that's not a computer. That's stunt performers in flame retardant gear with real fire sucking the oxygen out of the room, take after take after take. Zazie Beetz did most of her own stunts. She's not reacting to a tennis ball on a green screen. She's feeling the heat. And you feel it too because your brain knows what fire looks like. It's primal. CGI fire? Well, your brain always knows. There's a flatness that creeps in, almost imperceptible, but it's there. And over the last 20 years, I think the overuse of CGI has eliminated a very visceral feel that we can get from practical effects, a feel that cinema was built on. Now, here's where my filmmaker brain kicks in. When I see 20 actors on fire, I'm not just thinking, well, that looks great. I'm thinking about the producers on set going, oh dear God. Because I'm thinking about liability, I'm thinking about Rust, I'm thinking about Alec Baldwin. And I know that's a heavy reference, but it's relevant. These stunts can kill people. They can. And the fact that they pulled this off without anyone getting hurt, well, that's not just a craft achievement, that's a logistics achievement. Safety regulations exist for a reason, and when you're doing practical effects at this scale, the line between great shot and tragedy, well, it's thinner than most people realize. Sokolov wouldn't bend. The producers were, in their words, shitting and sweating, but he insisted on real fire, and that tells you something about who he is. He's not someone who takes the safe path, he takes the real path and figures out how to make it safe. And that's a philosophy I respect deeply. It's almost like a protest from what I learned. Someone saying, we're going to do this for real. We're going to set real fire and we're going to build real sets. And we're going to make it look better than the machines that cost 10 times as much. But, and this is the thing I kept feeling, that same instinct for doing things real, it doesn't carry into the story. The execution is brave, the conception is something else. And I'm not going to tell you yet because I want you to see the pattern first. Isaac Bauman shot this, and a lot of it works. The first thing that jumps out, how willing he is to go wide. There's a hallway shot early on, and you know exactly what it's doing. The symmetry, the perspective lines converging, the sense that the building is alive and swallowing you. Very brave to use the wide angle here and just lean into it. It's The Shining, and he's not just quoting Kubrick, he's using the same geometry for the same reason. the hallway as a throat. There are orbit shots too in here that, if you've ever operated a camera, you're thinking, I would not have tried that. But they work because the rotation mirrors Asia's disorientation. The camera isn't showing you what she sees, it's making you feel what she feels. And there's a detail with Asia's lighter that I want to point out here. Sokolov was influenced by Afro samurai, and the lighter Asia carries, well, it has a figure etched into it, someone being beheaded, blood spraying. She clicks it open and closed when she needs to center herself, and in one scene between the clicks, the camera reveals the design. And it's a reference to Yasuke, reportedly the first black samurai. Without a line of dialogue, Sokolov is telling you Asia isn't a victim. She's been shaped by violence. She's comfortable with it. That's visual language doing the work. That's a director who understands filmmaking at a level the story doesn't always match. So now you're starting to see it, right? The fire is real. The wide shots are brave. The lighter detail is genuinely smart visual storytelling. Everything in front of the camera is committed, and yet something is off. Let me show you where it breaks. The sound design is smart. Carlos Rafael Rivera built atmospheric layers that drone, that build, that ride the tension. The tones are slightly offbeat, off-tone, and that creates unease. In horror, sound is half the experience, and Rivera understands this. The silence is as important as the noise. But then the action sequences hit, and we go into Kill Bill Tarantino montage mode. And look, it builds energy, it drives, it's cool, it's stylistically fun. But does it advance the story? No, it absolutely does not. And that's part of something larger I'm seeing across genre filmmaking right now. Directors today seem collared. They're not taking risks. They're not trying something completely fresh. What you get instead is a mashup, a little Tarantino here, a little John Wick there, and a little Evil Dead over here. And it's fun, but it's a remix, not an original. Sokolov wore his influences openly. Lady Vengeance, Kill Bill, Sam Raimi, Sergio Leone. And I respect a director who doesn't pretend his inspirations don't exist. But there's a difference between being influenced by something and reassembling it. Rosemary's Baby was influenced by Hitchcock, but it didn't reassemble Hitchcock's shots. It took the DNA and it grew something new. They Will Kill You takes the surfaces, the blood, the music, the tonal shift, and reassembles them. And the result is a film that feels familiar without feeling earned. Now, here's where the pattern becomes crystal clear. When the atmospheric dread gives way to a Tarantino beat, well, you can feel the film deciding to be fun instead of frightening. And that's a choice, not a wrong choice, but a safe one. Then there's the whole tonal shift. The movie goes from Rosemary's Baby energy, hallway dread, something in the vents, into what I can only describe as a final boss level, like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle boss. Blood fountaining, shooting, crazy stuff. At a certain point, you're not watching the same movie anymore. And the trailer told me everything. The gag was already up because I know the trailer, which brings me to another point. Trailer culture is quietly killing the theatrical experience. When I sit down and I already know the beats, the surprises, the reveals, well, what am I watching for? You've stolen the thing that makes horror work, which is the unknown. So now you see it. Real fire, real stunts, real building, brave wide shots, smart sound design, and then Tarantino montage, Ninja Turtle boss fight, a trailer that gives away every beat. The execution is brave, the conception is safe, and that gap is the collar. Zazie Beetz carries this movie, physically carries it. This is a performance built on the body, not the voice. Martial arts, throwing punches, fighting through rooms of people trying to kill her, and she's believable. Sokolov wanted someone who could fight like a street kid, not a kung fu master. Someone who knows how to throw a punch and take one. There's even a moment where she punches a little kid in the face, and it lands. The physical commitment is real. And Sokolov shot the action wide. You see the actors doing the work. Well, that's old school Hong Kong action philosophy. You see the stunt, you see the body, and you see the impact. When you cut every half second and hide behind close-ups, well, you're telling the audience, we don't trust this to be real. When you hold the wide shot, you're saying, watch this. And it is. Patricia Arquette. Loved her Irish accent. It makes Lily feel both warm and other. She sounds like she belongs, but slightly different. And that difference is the tell. She's the guide. She's the Virgil. She's leading Asia into hell. So here's the answer to the question I opened with. Why does a filmmaker do the brave thing on set and the safe thing in the story? Sokolov named Rosemary's Baby as his inspiration, so that's the only fair place to measure from. And the difference, well, it's pretty simple. Rosemary's Baby never blinks. It stays in the dread. It stays in the hallway. It stays in the mundane until the mundane becomes monstrous, and it never once lets you off the hook. They Will Kill You starts in that same hallway. Same paranoia, same feeling that something is wrong with the neighbors, and then it decides to be something else. And every time it pivots from dread to action, from tension to gag, it lets you exhale. And horror can't survive that. The moment you let the audience exhale, you've broken the spell. Alien is the other one I keep thinking about. $4.2 million budget in 1979, which translates to about $20 million in 2026. So, same adjusted budget, same genre DNA, same setup, a person trapped in an enclosed space with something trying to kill them. Ridley Scott understood something in 1979 that I think we've lost. Silence is the weapon. The absence of noise is scarier than the noise. He let the ship breathe. He let the corridors be empty. He trusted that discomfort would do more than a flaming axe ever could. So here's my read. They Will Kill You is not a great film, but it is a well-crafted film made for $20 million by a director who clearly cares about what goes in front of the camera. The practical effects are outstanding. The Dante's Inferno structure, 9 floors, each one with its own circle of hell, outstanding. The sound design builds tension when it needs to, and Zazie Beetz commits physically in a way most leads don't. Where it falls short is ambition, a mashup of better films. The Tarantino energy is fun, but it doesn't advance anything. The trailer gives away the store, and the tonal shift from horror to action comedy is jarring enough that you feel the seams. Sokolov did the brave thing on set, and the safe thing in the script, and the box office reflected that. Audiences can feel the gap between execution and conception, even if they can't articulate it. But I'll tell you this, I'd rather watch this than another $200 million CGI fest that has nothing real in it. There's a craft here that I respect. There's a filmmaker here who insisted on doing things the hard way. And the fact that the system rewarded him with a box office loss for that insistence tells you everything about what cinema currently values. It's almost like a protest. Someone saying, we're going to do this for real. And the market said, we don't care. And that's the real horror. The gap. Not a category score and not a checklist. The gap between doing things right and doing things real. They Will Kill You did things real. It just couldn't do things new, and the gap is the collar. And the collar is the system. And the system, well, that's what we really should be talking about. I'm Matthew Lawrence. This has been The Rough Cut, a filmmaker's perspective with no apologies. If you made it this far, drop something in the comments. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what I missed. I genuinely want to know. If this is the kind of breakdown that you came for, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the edit room.